this is the first episode of the second season of this series called The New Untouchables. And this is the first season was about the Pecora Files, and basically they discussed this documentary called The Con, and it's about the corruption of Wall Street. And in this season, basically what they're doing is they're showing the results of corruption from Wall Street and the financial industry, housing, and it is criminal to me that this video has 706 views. This is one of the most well-researched, profound videos I've seen posted to YouTube in a very long time, and it hasn't gotten the attention that it needed. So please go to Real Progress in Action and watch this series. It's so good because I watched this full episode yesterday and I immediately started watching the first season. It's really important that people see this because we're talking about this housing crisis, right? So the moratorium on evictions was extended by 30 days, and we talked about this last week on the stream. So now July 31st, that's the new day that people will have protections. And, you know, we're staring down the face of a barrel with another massive housing crisis, but it's not like there never hasn't been a crisis. It's just been like an ongoing crisis. And so what this documentary starts out with is the story of this woman. Her name is Cynthia Brown. So this is an Olympic gold medalist, and till this day she's living in her car because her house was seized. And when you listen to the details that she gives, it is absolutely infuriating. And this is not like some old story, right? This didn't happen in the 1990s or the 80s. This is a current story where today, as we watch her tell her story in this documentary, she's sleeping in her car in front of her house to make sure that people don't like take anything out of her house and whatnot as she fights to get her house back. And what's also part of this story is the fact that the process of trying to appeal this, get her house back, is incredibly corrupt. So the documentary is called The New Untouchables. So this is actually season 2. So if you go to Real Progress and Action, you can get the details here. And it's shocking. So we're going to watch a little bit. Now I asked, I want everyone to go and watch the full thing, but I did ask Steve Grumbine, who's the host here, if I could play a little bit. And he did say yes. So I do want to watch some of this story, listen to some of the details here, and you will be amazed at what is happening, but probably not surprised.
That took the loan out on the home.
Let me back up a little bit here.
I'm still on this journey of finding the truth as to what happened in my case. And it's pretty clear that the person that took the loan out on the home was not myself. In fact, what they've done is they've perpetrated the identity theft in a lot of these cases so that they can get to the equities to the properties. The whole scheme here is to use that straw buyer's name, use your personal information so that they can access the equities to that property, because they never intend to pay it back. They're just going to get to the equity and then get the property in default, and then they're out of there. And then the burden's on that person who owned the home. Now, I don't know how many cases are out there that are have entered the foreclosure form like mine, but I recognize that identity theft is the biggest fraud that's going on right now, and the courts are fully aware of it. And they're signing and forging documents and then submitting it to the courts. They're not examining the documents. The court's allowing these documents to come in by presumption. You're not able to object or rebut the documents. It's basically like it's everything that you just said. It's so shocking. You know, today I'm still homeless, about 6 or 7 months now, and I'm trying to recover and, you know, just participate in court. And it's very difficult without having all the tools I need to litigate, to bring forward the fraud. there's a substantial amount of fraud being used to take over properties. The actual eviction was unlawful. They forged up paperwork and had the...
Let me just pause for a minute. This is people coming to take her out of her home. This is the Ring doorbell footage. Does this, like, this looks like these folks are going to war. They're coming to take her out of her home. That is what is happening right here in the United States of America. So when the host here says that this is financial terrorism, what else do you call it? I think that terrorism is like the perfect word. Imagine if folks showed up to your home when you were fucked over, didn't even have a chance to plead your case in the legal system, and they say, get the fuck out. So since this happened in November of last year, she has been living in her car. It's unthinkable.
Sheriffs to sign off on it. But the way in which they did it was so traumatizing.
Moving the camera.
My Ring video caught the experience, which the sheriffs didn't know about. But how they staged it was so traumatizing. It was very hard for me to put together all the Ring video links because...
Yeah, as Anderson says, the first guy is aimed, ready to shoot. They've got their guns cocked, ready to fucking bust through. They move the video camera footage out of the way so you can't see them behaving like terrorists because they know that the footage is stored in the cloud, so they don't want to look bad. So once they see that, they try to move it out of the way. Like, this is what you do if you broke into a store and you're trying to, like, steal. You know, you move the footage away. You get rid of the evidence. You spray paint the camera, or you push it out of the way. That's what these people are doing to kick her out of her fucking home. And this is legal. This is legal. That's the crazy part, right? As this happens, as she tells her story, remember, this is all legal.
It's just something you would never think as an Olympic athlete. You're going to be stormed by 15 to 20 sheriffs with military-grade AR-15s surrounding the whole house with other deputies in other persons' yards. They're breaking security cameras and spray painting the lenses so that they can't be seen.
So they did spray paint the lenses.
Sounds to me like what criminals do. Then they used batter rams to enter their property, and by the way, they couldn't get to the threshold, so the panel of the door caved in, so they had to crawl through a hole. I mean, it's just, when you go through the first link in November 16, it's going to explain everything. They're actually talking about it, how they're going to access and enter the home, and screaming through the whole entire house when they know it's only one African-American woman and a dog, by in which they had the animal control out there, which made me to believe they were going to shoot her. Luckily, I had her in my car because they would have destroyed her. It's just appalling how many people were standing in that home, gloating, laughing, high-fiving and bumping a fist like they had accomplished a goal, because they've been trying to get that home for years. And I've reported crimes against that home for years, and not one of them, not one agency took the initiative to investigate the way that I have to find that a serious crime had been committed. I even have the canceled checks front and back, so it makes it easy as to find who the equity stripper is. But see, that further gave me a clue who is participating and working together.
This is shock.
So let me just stop it right there. So I don't even know where to begin. This is chilling. They celebrated. So we saw all these people. They know that it's just one person there with a dog, and she said 15 to 20. 15 to 20 showed up. There was at least like 5 or 6 at first, 6 on camera. You know there's more. All of them show up armed with AR-15s when they know one person is in the house, and as soon as they actually kick her out of her home, they celebrate like they just conquered a country. How fucked up is this? I mean, I couldn't imagine going through this. This is terrorism. Now, I don't want to play too much of this because I really hope that you watch the whole thing, but I just want you to get like a little sense of how horrible this is, how prevalent this is, how the 2008 financial crisis is still affecting people today. Bad loans are being given out, and how people who have been basically preyed upon by the financial industry, they aren't able to even fight for themselves because of the criminal justice system being very racist and biased, and all throughout. Like, so this woman right here is so brilliant. But they go through and they speak with lawyers. They talk to people about the process itself and how they weren't following proper procedure. And we're not even scratching the surface, but basically they wanted that property and they took it, and it's kind of like what was referenced here, right? Now, oops, wrong video, because that's another related story. You know, people getting loans for homes that are like $600,000-$700,000. You think that if you have the income to be able to get a loan for $600,000-$700,000, you'd get a good loan. But people are being given terrible, bad loans, and they're getting fucked over, and then they get kicked out of their homes, and then the legal process itself is that much more complex and convoluted and fucked up and unjust. Oops, I just messed up the dog cam. I'm very animated when I talk, swinging my arms around. But let's listen to her speak.
Illegal foreclosures are happening all the time. Can you put that into context?
Well, sure. A little bit about me. I started out as a real estate agent out of college back in 2002, and then graduated law school in 2006. And so throughout law school, I conducted a lot of sales in Prince George's County. And by 2008, by the time I had my law license, the real estate clients were coming back with foreclosure issues. And so, I signed up to volunteer with nonprofits in Maryland that were trying to stop the bleeding, but no one really knew what was going on. And I took on a few cases pro bono to start. What I found was initially is that the facts didn't matter. And so no matter what fact pattern you had and no matter what challenges the homeowner had, the narrative was there a loan? Was there a default? And okay, you got to go. And so I didn't quite understand what was going on at that time. And I do want to mention the woman that Ms. Johnson spoke about that was evicted on December 16th and had to sleep in her car. Mind you, her father, they foreclosed on her father's loan. He supposedly took out a reverse mortgage when he was most likely incompetent with Alzheimer's. And so she's yelling to the courts, my dad couldn't have signed this. He had Alzheimer's for the last 5 years. How could he sign a reverse mortgage? Secondly, with the commercial cell tower on his property, you're not eligible for a reverse mortgage because that's commercial property, not residential. And so even with the facts in hand, the judges turn their eye. And I love what Ms. Mitchell said when she said, who can own property? I'm going to tell you, when I'm in Prince George's County courts, even though there are black judges, even though in our county there are black legislators and black representatives, I feel like 3/5 of an attorney. And I feel like my clients are 3/5 of a resident of our county. And so to be the most affluent black county in the country, we are still 3/5 of the most rural white county in America, as far as I'm concerned, because our judges are programmed not to listen, to turn the other cheek, and they are actually robo-stamping denials, no matter what your fact pattern are. And so that's what I found. In our county, I would say that what I see a lot of is the American dream lost. And so there were a lot of people who sold their townhomes, their condos. They had a lot of equity. The market was booming. They put a $100,000, $200,000 down payment down on their dream home, a $800,000 home built by a reputable home builder. What these home builders said was, use our lender and you'll get a $10,000 credit. And what we didn't know, and I noticed, I'll put the bank out there, it was Wells Fargo on the majority of these new home communities.
Shocker.
And what happened was, what I found is, here are people making six figures. I mean, I'm talking households making $250,000, $300,000 a year. Why do they have such bad loans in the first place? That was the only loan that was offered to them. And I had someone who moved into the same neighborhood. She was adamant that she was going to go with her credit union, and they almost wouldn't let her go to settlement. She said, and it's because she wouldn't use Wells Fargo. She said they didn't even all have a 30-year fixed option. She said, well, but other homeowners, when you're given a teaser rate, we can give you 3%, 4%. Don't worry about it, or it'll adjust. Well, poor people's loans adjust from $4,500 a month to $8,000 a month, and most people are not prepared to deal with that. And so,
what?
Yes, even though, people might say, oh, Crimea River, you guys are making, six figures. It stole the equity. Their $100,000, $200,000 down payment is gone. All the houses that were appraised for $800,000 are now $400,000 on the short sale market. They can't refinance. Oh, and let's not forget, because watching the con did jog my memory about people who held on to those great credit scores, because all you have it, you got to keep your credit score. They call their lender, I need help. I can't pay $8,000 a month. We're working people. We bring in $12,000 a month. We have 2 children. We have this, we have that. What can you do? Well, just stop making payments. We can't help you until you stop making your payments. All right. And after 3 months, then we can work with you. So what happened is, people thought they were dealing with their bank, and they're dealing with this servicer who represents God knows who. And when they go into default after the 90 days, then next thing send in your paperwork. So what I saw as an attorney, and this is still around 2010, only because I had so many people, every single person said, they keep losing my paperwork. I sent it in, and they said they didn't get it. And I sent it in again, and they said they didn't get it. And they need this. And so they're playing this rat race of, okay, I'm turning it in. I'm employed. I had good credit. Just work with me. Neighborhood bank, but it's not your neighborhood bank. So finally, in court, they have in Maryland, it's quasi-judicial. And so it's a lot of the process occurs outside of court. You just file the plaintiff's trustees file and say there was a default, and unless you reach out to the court, they'll just railroad you and you'll be out of your house. So assuming you were served, assuming that you challenged anything, the next step is mediation. Now you go to this mediation, 99 out of 100 times there's no resolution reached. However, turn in your paperwork one more time, and I'm sure we can work with you. And within that next 30-day period, your house is already on the auction block. Next thing you know, your house is sold. Everyone thinks they're alone. I thought they were working with me. I don't understand what happened. You called the servicer. Oh, it's out of our hands, our attorneys. So everyone thought their story was individual to themselves. But when I hear this story 50, 60, 70, 100 times, it's the same story.
There's this is very, very lengthy. It's about an hour long. And then Steve does a really great job at explaining why there isn't an incentive. Because all of this predatory behavior essentially is a way that local governments are able to raise revenue. It's a lot. So again, the name of this show is The New Untouchables. This is season 2. And I would highly encourage people to watch this, because this is HBO level quality content, and it's not getting seen by enough people. So if you watch it, please be sure to share it, because I don't think that people understand how widespread this issue is, and it really speaks to how embedded racism is in institutions.